ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਸ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਜੁਗਰਾਜਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਫ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਐਂਡਰਿਊ ਸ਼ੇਰ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਸਿਆਸੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਬਾਰੇ, ਨਵੇਂ ਬਣ ਰਹੇ ਸਮੀਕਰਨ ਅਤੇ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਆਓ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਲੀਡਰ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਆਰ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ।
Thanks very much for having me.
SNC Lavalin issue has been talk of town for quite some time now. You met with the chief of company who now says that he is sick of being a puck in the political hockey game. What exactly did you talk to him about?
Well, at the time, the Liberal government had been changing the legislation to allow for a different kind of deal to be offered to companies. We had not heard anything about that, so the meeting was just him providing me with information about that. And unlike Justin Trudeau, I've been very transparent about that meeting, talking about exactly what was said. Justin Trudeau still won't talk about what was happening with the many meetings that were going on between between his office and officials. I can understand their frustration, but this really does come down to the principle of the rule of law, the independence of our judicial system. As Canadians, we must fight to prevent politicians from interfering in an independent court process just to get a better outcome for well-connected companies or individuals. We don't want to live in a country where there's one set of rules for the rich and powerful and another set of rules for the rest of us. And that's why Conservatives are going to continue pushing Justin Trudeau for a full public inquiry so that Canadians can know exactly what happened.
But when you met the chief of the company, what exactly did you talk to him about?
I was in listening mode. You know, this was a new tool that was being given to Crown prosecutors. This was not something that had existed in Canada before. So, you know, no undertakings were made, no commitments were made. It was just me receiving information about what the Liberals had just put in the budget. What the Liberals put in the budget was an ability, in an 800-page budget bill, changing the way criminal prosecutions proceed. It's a very strange way for the government to change the rules around the criminal code. But what they did was they gave the Crown prosecutors, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the ability to have a special deal. They're called deferred prosecution agreements for a company that's being charged with serious crimes. Even after that, the independent Director of Public Prosecutions determined that SNC Lavalin did not qualify. So we have an independent agent of the Crown making a decision about how to proceed with a criminal case. And then we have the Attorney General indicating that she will not overturn that decision. And now we find out that key figures in Justin Trudeau's office started to put pressure, started to urge her to change her mind, culminating in her losing her job. So we believe clearly there's political interference in this matter.
We've heard reports that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his closest political advisor, Gerald Butts, have been subpoenaed in the Mark Norman case. Why is this issue important for Canadians to be made aware of, and what are you hearing in Ottawa?
Again, this is another example of our judicial system and the rule of law being interfered with. We found out that the officials in Justin Trudeau's government were using code names to avoid access to information requests showing what was happening. So in order to keep some of their actions secret, they did not use Mr. Mark Norman's real name. They used a code word for him. I mean, that's outrageous to think that we have government officials trying to hide the truth from Canadians so that it can't come to the light of day when media make inquiries or when individuals ask for that information. We have very serious charges against Mark Norman, and we also have the government trying to prevent him from having a fair case. We've asked Justin Trudeau to waive all his protections, all his privileges, to allow key documents to be provided, to allow testimony to be given. And Mark Norman deserves to be able to have the best possible defense he can mount. Justin Trudeau shouldn't stand in his way. And again, we're talking about the principle of the rule of law. We have fought so hard in this country to be the type of place where no one is above the law, where rich, poor, east, west, we all get treated the same under our justice system. And under Justin Trudeau, that is starting to very seriously be eroded.
We have seen you encountering the Liberals very aggressively in the House of Commons over various issues. Before the recent scandal overshadowed the Parliament, you were talking about how Liberal government failed in every corner. You said Liberals failed to deliver balanced budget that they promised before. In argument of that, they say that they have invested in infrastructure, other areas, in order to uplift the economy. What do you want to say about that?
Well, you're right. We have pointed out the many failures of the Liberal government. Justin Trudeau has not been able to get pipeline pipelines built to get our energy to market, and as a result, Canadians are suffering. We're selling our oil and gas at a huge discount compared to the United States or other oil exporting countries. He's failed to balance the budget. 2019 was supposed to be the year that the budget was balanced. We now know that it'll be years and years, decades even, before that happens. His claim on who is benefiting from his policies, though, are false. Average middle-class families, average income earners, are paying more in taxes under his policies, and they will pay more. In Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, New Brunswick, all the provinces where the carbon tax will be applied, the cost of living is going to go up. Things are going to get more expensive. Conservatives have a plan to help people get ahead, not just get by, and it focuses on lowering taxes, growing the economy so that there's prosperity, so there's opportunity for prosperity for everyone.
They say that they're putting the money in the middle class, whereas the Conservatives just put the money in their rich partners.
Well, and you know, that's the Liberals are always very good at accusing others of the very things that they do themselves. When Justin Trudeau was attacking small business owners, he called them tax cheats. He said that many people who open up a business are just doing it to try to pay lower taxes. So we went after small business owners, restaurant owners, mechanics, people who have a home business. He attacked them. He didn't change the tax rates for family trusts. He didn't do anything to make people like him who have inherited and have family trusts set up pay any more in taxes. The shareholders of the major companies that his finance minister is involved in, they didn't have to pay more taxes. And when he went through his tax changes, the finance department documents show that the richest 1% in Canada ended up paying less tax than before. And when it comes to infrastructure, independent analysis, the parliamentary budget officer has shown the money is not flowing out, the projects aren't getting built. So we have the worst of both worlds. We have big, massive deficits and nothing to show for it.
Well, a preliminary analysis of federal books say that government ran a budgetary surplus of $300 million through the first 9 months of fiscal year.
Well, we left, the Conservative Party left the Liberal government with a surplus. That is undisputed. The Finance Department has acknowledged that. We know that the fiscal update from last fall projected billions of dollars worth of deficits, potentially, depending on how all the money gets spent and which year it goes out at, potentially as high as $30 billion. So that's what we're looking at. We'll find out exactly what those numbers are in a few weeks when the budget comes down, but we're not holding our breath. We're expecting to see big deficits, lots of red ink in that budget.
Owning a house is becoming a dream for millennial Canadians. You promised that you will make mortgage rules easier to buy a home. How do you plan to do that? And what other steps are you taking to encourage young voters to vote for you?
So you're absolutely right. This is perhaps the first generation of young Canadians who are not optimistic about being able to own their own home. When I think about my own family background, my mother grew up on a dirt road in Mississauga. Cawthra Road at the time was not the major street it is today. My mom's family were able to buy homes in nice areas and be able to provide for their children. My generation in our family, we were able to go to university and have careers, the types with which my grandparents would only dream about. But now young people, 18 to 30, are looking at the housing market. They're looking at knowing that their jobs will probably not be as secure as before in Canadian economic history. So there's a lot of anxiety. The Trudeau Liberals changed the mortgage rates rules to make it harder for young people and first-time homeowners to save, to qualify for a mortgage. So we're going to make some changes around that. We're working on a policy. It'll be predicated on one important thing, and that is there's no such thing as a national housing market. There are issues in Toronto, there are issues in Vancouver, there are issues in Montreal. But when you paint an entire country with the same broad brush, many people fall through the cracks and are hurt by that very types of policy. We're also going to encourage new developments. There are over $100,000 in costs just for regulatory burdens, just for home builders and developers to comply with government rules. That all gets passed on to the consumer. So we can tackle the cost of housing by increasing supply and lowering the government's red tape, the fiscal burden that government creates with all these rules and regulations.
Leader, it is easy to criticize the current government, their wrongdoings, the promises that they didn't fulfill. You're trying to be an alternative to the current government. What plan do you have? Why Canadians should vote for you?
Well, we have a positive plan based on conservative principles that recognizes the value of individuals, the fact that society is bigger than just the government, and that government can play a role in facilitating different solutions to our societal challenges. We've already started to unveil some of our policies in key areas. I've unveiled a comprehensive plan to get pipelines built in this country, get our energy sector back to work. That benefits people all over the country, not just in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Lots of manufacturing jobs in Ontario. Financial service sector jobs in Toronto are dependent on a vibrant energy sector. I've outlined a comprehensive plan as well to tackle violent crime. In cities like Toronto, we've seen many tragic incidences of violent crime, deaths, murders, and a lot of that is perpetrated by gangs. So part of my vision on that is to get tough on criminals and to make our streets safer. We've got an environmental plan that we've started talking about, banning.
Finally.
Well, we've been announcing several stages of it. And I will point out.
We'll be getting back to that. It's time for a break. We'll be back.
Sure.
ਸਮਾਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਦਾ। ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। So we were talking about the climate plan, which is finally unveiling with the Conservatives. So what is that?
So we've started to unveil our environmental plan, and as I said, Canadians will see the entire plan well in advance of the election. What we announced a few weeks ago was that a Conservative government will ban the practice, will work with municipalities to finally end the practice of municipalities dumping raw sewage into our lakes and rivers. There are many Canadian cities and towns and communities that just dump untreated wastewater right into our lakes and rivers. So raw sewage going into places where people swim and into fish habitat. It's time for that to stop. The Liberal government has done nothing to address that. So they talk a good game on the environment, but in reality, there's nothing of substance behind that.
According to the trends coming in so far, it has been seen that NDP is sliding down in popularity between Canadians. Does that raise concerns for you? Because it is considered that NDP's loss is a Liberals' gain. How do you plan to bring those votes on your side?
Well, it is difficult for me to control what the NDP does, and they've got their own plan, and their leader will have to make decisions about how he improves his party's chances. So I only focus on what I can control, and that's our policies and our message. We have an opportunity because I believe what you're seeing is that Justin Trudeau has moved so far to the left. He's basically become an NDP-like party that opens up a lot of ground in the middle. And there are many Liberals who tell me that they voted for Justin Trudeau in 2015, but they never expected to get this kind of government. They never expected to have out-of-control spending, this kind of failure, failed foreign policies, backing down to Donald Trump, accepting all these concessions. And they say, you know what, I'm voting for you for the first time. I'm voting Conservative because of your positive message and because they are tired of how the Liberals have governed this country. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us if we can connect with those voters, offer them a series of positive policies that bring them over to our side. And it's already happened. We have in the GTA, in the Greater Toronto area, a very high-profile former Liberal MP who, as a sitting Liberal MP, joined our caucus, our party, because she saw the difference in direction that the Conservatives would take the country. So we see many, many Liberals coming over to our camp.
While you were running for leader of Conservative Party, it was a close race between you and Maxime Bernier, who now has formed his own People's Party of Canada. How much impact do you think a Bernier factor would have on Conservative vote bank?
I don't believe so. I believe people recognize that this new party is one man's personal ambitions. There was an opportunity for Mr. Bernier to work with us, to advance the files that he was interested in with us. He never once tried to do that. He never once brought any of his ideas to the table. I believe he made his decision the day after he lost the leadership election. So we're going to stay focused on building that broad-based movement that can defeat Justin Trudeau. And when you look at the people who are looking for balanced budgets, lower taxes, greater economic freedom, greater individual liberty, they're looking at our party because our party is offering the real solutions and the real opportunity to make changes in those areas with the Conservative Party forming government in 2019. So I'm very confident that we're going to be very successful in that regard.
When you were running, a big chunk of Conservative vote supported Maxime Bernier. Don't you think in this election time it's going to shift over there?
No, because when the members of our party we had a very competitive race. We had, at one point, 16 people running for the leadership. And one thing that was clear, that our members are very clear about, is when Conservatives stay united, we win. We can win when we're united. We've been through in our recent history periods of time where the Conservative movement has been split into 2 or sometimes 3 different parties. That never leads to success. So we had a great convention in Halifax. The membership is behind me and my team. They recognize that you can have a very close race in a leadership rate. You can have a very competitive leadership race, but you have to get behind the leader so that we can win the next election and stay true to our Conservative principles.
There's been a long tradition that not to criticize the Canadian government on the foreign soil. So when you went to India, you got a really warm welcome over there, while the current Prime Minister, when he went, he was not received very well. On the other side, the leaders of the other party are not even issued a visa over there. It seems like Indian government criticized the Canadian government and you acknowledged it. How do you take that?
Well, first of all, while I was in India, I was very careful not to directly criticize Justin Trudeau personally, because I do respect that convention. We did have meetings with senior ministers in the Indian government. I made several trips to the regions too, including visits to Punjab and meeting with key officials there, talking about how a Conservative government would try to advance relations with India and focus on India in that region. You know, India and Canada have so many things in common. We have a similar rule of law. We have a similar democratic system. So I believe Canada should be partnering with India in the region. Justin Trudeau was talking about a free trade deal with China, and I was saying, you know what, we should work more closely with India to liberalize trade and open up markets, because we have so much in common already. Now, that being said, when Justin Trudeau went to India, he caused himself a problem, because when he got back, he started blaming the Indian government for things that happened there. And that's where the diplomatic message from the Indian government said, hey, wait a minute, you know, this is not an appropriate way to address an issue. And so we were asking questions in question period about what has the Prime Minister's trip done to our relationship now that there's this diplomatic issue after the fact, which I think is not only proper, but it's my responsibility as the leader of the opposition to hold the government to account on those things.
So 2019 is a big year for you. If you want to give any message to our viewers, stage is all yours.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I want to say Sat Sri Akal to everyone watching. The Conservative Party will be outlining a series of positive policies to help you get ahead and not just get by. We're always going to be focused on lowering taxes, growing the economy, helping people save for the future, keep more of their hard-earned money, and make our community safer. That's the positive Conservative vision I have for this country.
We wish you all the best for the 2019 elections.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming to the studio.
You bet, thank you.
ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਐਂਡਰਿਊ ਸ਼ੇਰ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੜੇ ਬੇਬਾਕੀ ਨਾਲ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਨੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਜਵਾਬਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਹਿਮਤ ਜਾਂ ਅਸਹਿਮਤ ਹੋ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਸ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਲੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲਿਖ ਭੇਜਣਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਡੀਕ ਰਹੇਗੀ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।